gracing us with her presence, Miss Habiba Kahinde. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you. Thanks. Really nice to see you guys again.
So without much ado, I want to welcome Camilla Nontra.
Yay!
Oh my goodness. I should come to you every day when I'm feeling when I need
Correct. This is Sudan.
Wow.
Sudan. Believe it or not, Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt.
Interesting.
Begin to think in a Pan-African way, because they now see that their conditions are not just about that local space, but the condition is linked to all of the other.
Hello. It's been a long time. How are you all doing? Welcome to the PanAfricana Show. My name is Fred Nontra, and it's been a few weeks now, and we missed you all, and we're glad to be back here with my co-host, and want to start by thanking God for today. By Him we live, we move, and have our being. Jesse.
Well, what's going on, everybody? I know it's been a while since we have had an opportunity to check in. I think that one's on me. Hey, Jordan, how you doing?
All right. Well, before we go on, before Jesse goes on, I'll be remiss, and we'll be remiss. Thank you, Jada, for the reminder. I want to say a happy blessed birthday to Jesse McCoy.
Thank you.
You know, celebrating the birthday is no longer just another thing. It's a blessing, as we've seen the past 2 years. All people who've passed away, you know, people younger than Jesse, older than Jesse, you know, they passed away. But, you know, it's a blessing from God. Life is a blessing. And I want to celebrate you. I want you to know that I appreciate you all these years. And I thank God that He added in our lives, that you're going to be here longer. And may He add many more. May He cross 70 plus with ease.
Yes.
And, and they will have more birthdays and, you know, laughters in the future.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jarda. Thank you, Fred. A year older, hopefully a year wiser. If not, I'm going to try. Yeah. So I just wanted to say, for the past couple of weeks, I know we have been away largely due to me, because I had a son who was playing basketball. I'm trying to get him in the skill set for sports, and he did really well, so well that his team ended up winning the championship last week. So we're celebrating. Is still in the house, having a champion in the house who contributed. And the guy was a monster, man. I didn't know he had it in him, but he really impressed. So, I think we might have a future NBA player. Yes, my ticket out. This is what.
Congratulations to the young boy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, proud of him. Oh yeah, told you to say happy birthday, many more.
Yes, thank you, told you. I appreciate it.
And then Jada says, "Yeah, congratulations."
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been real, but we want to get back to you all today and talk to you all about some things that are going on, some new developments, and all of that. And the main thing is today we wanted to start off by talking a little bit. Not so much just the politics of it, but we want to talk about kind of some things that are happening in Washington. Specifically, we are preparing for the confirmation hearings of Sister Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is poised to be the first African-American woman on the Supreme Court. This is a big deal. So first off, salute to her, right?
Yeah, salute to her. Yeah.
Impeccable record of service in the judiciary. And so I want to tell you all a little bit about the process. I won't bore you, but I'll tell you a little bit about the process. And I want to tell you kind of why this is important and why we should all be supportive, right? So the first thing is the process is that in order to become a Supreme Court justice, a president has to pick you for this role, and then you have to be confirmed by Congress. The president is going to pick someone that they feel like is going to embody their virtues. And oftentimes that person is going to be, whatever the party is that's in charge in America at the time, they're going to lean towards what that party stance is. Not to say that a judge isn't going to be neutral, because their job is to be neutral.
Yes.
But they're not going to pick people who are going to be polar opposite of what their position is, right? And it's important because a Supreme Court justice pick is probably somebody who's going to be working here for the next 20 to 30 years. So this legacy is going to be an extension of the president well beyond the time when the president has gone into retirement and is doing book tours and all that stuff. So it's important. The other reason it's important is because it's an opportunity to have a feel over what's going on in the judiciary. So for those of you who may not be in the United States or may never studied this, the Supreme Court of the United States is the highest court in the land. It is the highest federal arbiter. It is the highest anything. So the way it works is if you have a case in state court that challenges constitutionality, then you'll fight all the cases in state court. Maybe you get a disfavorable decision in the Supreme Court of that state. But if it's about the Constitution, you have a right to appeal it up to the federal courts. The Supreme Court is the highest federal court. So whatever they say, that is it. And that is going to be taken as the precedent and the law really for the next 20 years. The other thing about the Supreme Court is all the judges have a personality, right? So it's not like you just, for me, I practice in state court. We just go in, judges got personalities, but the personality doesn't really make a difference because we argue in laws and facts. In the Supreme Court, it makes a huge difference. So, people want to hear certain things, right? They want to hear certain buzzwords, and they're going to give you certain feedback. So right now, we have a system of 9 Supreme Court justices. All 9 have very different opinions, but for the past, I guess ever since the Trump administration, we've had a lean that is conservative. So right now, the split is about 6-3 conservative, which means more conservative views, things like reproductive rights, probably not going to exist if you keep on the direction that you're going in. Things like having rights against the police, challenging your freedoms, probably not going to exist if you keep leaning the way that it's going right now. What has happened is Justice Breyer, who's one of the 3 liberal justices, has reached the age where he says, you know what? I'm going to retire now while we got a president that kind of believes in what I believe, so somebody else can get picked and they'd be out here for 30 years. It's the opposite of what Justice Ginsburg did. She wanted to hold on when she probably should have let it go when Obama was in and let him get a pick. But be that as it may. So Sister Brown Jackson, this lady's awesome. And just so you all know, when a president picks somebody to be a justice, there is an intense vetting process, right? You got to make sure that you don't have scandals. You got to make sure that you're not getting bought off. Right? You got to make sure that everything is perfect, because Congress is going to come through with a bag of razor blades and cut through your whole professional career, right?
And when you're crossing the road to any jaywalked or
yes,
any
absolutely.
pocket ticket.
Absolutely. They want to know your affiliations. They want to know your past judgments. And granted, some of the stuff is probably not their business, right? But they're going to find out. So you need to be ready to deal with it. So we're getting ready for those confirmation hearings where we don't know what's going to happen, but we already have gotten a little bit of posturing from Congress. So the senior Speaker of the House, not Speaker of the House, but Senate,
the minority leader, Mitch McConnell, has already kind of given a precursor at the angle that he's going to attack this nomination. And he is very conservative. So that means that the idea of having a liberal justice, let alone a Black female liberal justice, is not sitting well with him. Right? So he's got to try to find ways to trip her up. So what he has done is last week, he put out a statement saying that there are fringe liberal groups that support her, right? Now, he didn't tell us what these fringe liberal groups were that Jesse,
he talked about.
Jesse, not mean to cut you off, but he prefaced this by saying, "Oh, I know she's qualified, but So this,
Right.
so what's the point? Go ahead.
Absolutely. So we know there when he says I know she's qualified, there's no denying her qualifications. We're talking about somebody who graduated from Harvard twice, right? Like so in America, Harvard is like the gold standard, right? Whether we want to accept that or not. So she graduated from Harvard twice. She has love from all sides, conservative and liberal, for her opinions and for the work that she's done in the DC circuit. So there's not really any way to attack, and she's young, so she's probably going to be up there for a long time.
Yeah.
So Mitch McConnell's like, no, I don't want any of that to happen. So he says that she's associated with fringe liberal groups, and Dick Durbin, who is actually going to be presiding over her confirmation hearing, listed out a whole bunch of conservative groups that she's also getting support from to show that she is balanced, right? And so because he's showing she's balanced, he's trying to diffuse the attack that they know is coming from conservatives in the Senate. These things can go really, really left. You never know. This used to be a matter of formality, and until Thurgood Marshall was appointed to be a Supreme Court justice, and then all of a sudden this became political. So Thurgood Marshall at the time, I think he had a confirmation hearing that lasted, I want to say like 3 days, 4 days. This used to be something that would get handled like in a day, right? But it's 3 or 4 days before he was confirmed. Those of you who are my age probably remember when Thurgood Marshall passed away, there was a Clarence Thomas hearing that went far left, because once Clarence Thomas was appointed, he went through the confirmation procedure. Then we found out about sexual harassment at the office at the EOC. Anita Hill came out, all this bad stuff that he was doing, but Republicans already had the votes necessary to get him in anyway. So this could be very interesting, or it could be very boring. We prefer boring. It's something you actually want it to be boring, but anytime that you're getting ready to change a lever of power in the United States of America and make it into somebody with a black face, there's going to be questions, unfortunately. So we will see what she does, or we will see how, what questions or what attacks they try to raise on her. But I just want people to be cognizant about it, because right now, as far as her record, there's nothing that would stop her. And she's gotten support. I know I've signed a couple letters of support from the ABA and National Bar Association, which is like the Black Lawyers Association, in support of her. So she's got broad support. One thing that is of interest, though, is that Dick Durbin, in his defense of her, mentions that she has support from the Fraternal Order of Police.
I was going to ask that question, and why it's important.
So this makes me incredibly nervous, because what that means now is that we have put on the record in Congress essentially the unofficial requirement that in order to become a justice in the United States Supreme Court, you have to have support from a police union or from the Fraternal Order of Police. Yeah. And as a Black person, that is terrifying, because the place that we go when we're challenging the constitutionality of the police's action or the violations of our constitutional rights that they engage in, we're ultimately trying to end up at the Supreme Court so that we can get rulings in our favor. But if they have to do what they have to do to be supported, quote unquote, supported by Fraternal Order of Police, the likelihood of them making rulings that are going to be against police, probably not so great. Maybe they'll change, like people can, do an about face when they get in the position, because there's nothing holding you anymore. At that point, once you got the lifetime appointment, you can decide freely. And we set the Supreme Court justices' position up for that purpose. We want them to be free to exercise their independent branch of government. They don't have to listen to Congress or the president. They can do what they need to do. But it is kind of scary to know that you have to get police support to get on the highest court in the land. And that will also explain why there's probably a lot of other qualified Black professionals who will never be able to cross that threshold, self-included.
Well, my question to you: why them, and why are they so important? I remember back in the day, I got a call from a strange number, and then I answered, and they tell me it was Fraternal Order of Police. They're looking for funding. Like, well, you're not gonna get my money, man. Yeah, and I was just wondering why it's important for them. Why that group? I mean, of course, if she's been a judge, she's definitely worked with the police unit. I mean, they sort of collaborated on issues, right? So I don't see the point. It doesn't make. What is it?
We hope not.
We hope not.
So what's supposed to happen in a perfect world is a judge is neutral, right? So a judge is going to hear cases based on what, the police usually work with the DA's office. So the police in the DA's office, they will present a case and say, this person is guilty of this crime. Here are the facts. The defense is going to say they're not guilty of the crime, or at least say the state can't prove what they're alleging. And the judge's job is to hear things neutrally and make a decision based on the law. So hopefully she wasn't working with the police, but
exactly.
But even with that, the reason why they're calling you and they're asking you for money, this is the Fraternal Order of Police. The reason why they're asking you for money is because they are a powerful political organization, right? And to win elections, especially local elections, you almost have to have the police union supporting you, because they're going to be the ones who provide campaign money. They're going to be the ones who probably provide security for you. Like, they're going to be the ones who do most of the stuff. So they want you to have a favorable view of what police do. And I want to be clear. I'm not saying this to say that all police officers are bad or anything like that. I think we've got demonstrated examples time and time again that there are a lot more bad policemen than people want to believe. But at the same time, there are some wonderful officers, and those individual officers should be commended because it is a very difficult job. The problem is that the way that the police department is set up, good officers are not in a position to be able to rat out bad officers. So you have to wear the badge that comes with all the bad stuff that comes with it too, because if you all aren't able to use your power in a way that's going to remove the bad police officers from the department, then you're co-signing the bad treatment that these people go out into the community and exact on folks who look like us. So we'll see. And the thing about it is, we've been kind of going in this direction. I know if people who haven't really studied legal history, if you look at the federal cases that came out in the 70s, in the 60s, right? There was so much change. There was so much freedom, right? And then when Berger and Rehnquist had their leadership of the Supreme Court, they rolled back all these freedoms to give the government so much power. So that's the reason why we're having all these issues with police. Police been killing us the whole time. But it was different when it was like, no, you can't do X, Y, and Z versus things like there's a case, Terry v. Ohio, where the police officer, the guy didn't even do anything wrong, but the police officer was like, no, it looks like he's been casing the joint, so I'm going to stop and frisk him. And he frisked the guy, and it turns out the guy had a weapon, right? Now, you in America, you're supposed to be able to have your weapon. So be that as it may, he had a Second Amendment right to do what he wanted to do, but the police officer was praised as a hero for stopping a potential robbery of a bank, even though we don't know that guy ever really was going to rob the bank. The other thing about that is it also gave license to stop and frisk policy. So once they see that the Supreme Court is cool with something, then the local governments are going to make rules that support it. So New York had stop and frisk, right? Because Terry v. Ohio. And when they did stop and frisk, you know who they're going to target. They're not targeting white people walking around in Wall Street. It's just not happening. They're coming for us. They're like, nah, we're going to get you. So, you want somebody who's going to understand kind of the history of what's here, but also somebody who is going to be fair and hear everybody and respect everybody's constitutionality.
Okay, so now there was also another case when before she was even picked, and the president had come out to say he was going to pick an African American female on African American woman. The one of the congressmen from Texas, what's his name again, says he's offended by saying that. So it means he uses this word, quote unquote, the rest of us are screwed. If you are a white man or a black man, you're screwed. I'm like, so what? And he's trying to make it seem like, oh, he's supporting one side, but we knew what it was all about.
Oh my gosh!
Your comments on that? Did you hear that?
People, I had not heard that, but I'm not shocked. I mean, people claim reverse racism. I just want to let people know, in the history of the United States, we have had 2 Black Supreme Court justices, and one of them is questionable, right? Like Clarence Thomas is very questionable, right? But we've had 2 Black Supreme Court justices. This is not a threat to white supremacy whatsoever. I think it's more so their fight to maintain white supremacy, because we know that the demographics of the country are changing. We know that white supremacy is not going to exist now that people are talking about it and fighting against it. But it's hard to dismantle. It's embedded in everything here. So I think, this is kind of, if you remember when Abigail Fisher, she was trying to say that she didn't get into the University of Texas because some Black person got her seat, but Black people only made up like 13% of the admittees. And you're like, yo, you don't have an issue with any of the other 87% of people who took your seat. I think America was pitched to white people largely as like, this is their birthright. So there are certain things that they can do and get without having to put in much effort. Keep in mind the 13% of people who went into that admissions were like, we're not talking about like the regular Black person in the community. We're talking about people who were like above and beyond qualified. Right?
Yeah.
So it's always an attack on us as opposed to, Abigail Fisher just getting better grades and doing better. You know what I'm saying?
I know, right? One in a possible, told you says.
Yeah, one of the possible Supreme Court justices that are Black. Yeah.
And then stay mad Abby.
Stay mad Abby. That was the hashtag. Stay mad Abby.
Oh
Yeah.
man. So I was going. I can stand. I think Jesse is more of the composed one, although he gets mad too. When I read such articles, that's why sometimes I stay away from the news, because I know I'm going to get mad, and So what about So I want to switch gears a little bit. Any questions? Any comments? I know Toju is still with us. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the latest with Colin Kaepernick just shortly. He still hasn't gotten a job.
Yep.
And he did. Colin Kaepernick never committed a crime. All he did was, to give you a little background, he was sitting on the side. He was an NFL player, NFL quarterback. And when the national anthem is playing, most people stand up and, put their right hand over their chest and all that. But he was sitting on the side. It happened a couple of times until a reporter asked him. And the reporter asked him, he said he was doing that because he wanted to bring attention to the police brutality that was going on in the country. That's why he's not going to support a flag. He's not going to stand up to a flag that supports, that, hurts people like him, some people who are not even privileged like he has. So he wants to stand up for the ordinary man. He did that very peacefully. He did not hurt anyone. He did not fight anyone. He's never been in trouble. But after that season, Colin Kaepernick has never played the quarterback again. Absolutely. Now, there's several people who is way better than who's gotten jobs.
Yep.
Because they look a certain way. Now, Colin Kaepernick still hasn't had a job, and I saw him practicing the other day. I'm like, man, this is just dirty. And then someone else gets a job who has a rap sheet of civil
Yep.
issues.
Yep.
But because he toes the line, he's getting a job, getting 200 million plus. We don't say you shouldn't get a job or get paid, but I mean, there's some hypocrisy there. Your comments, bro.
So I got several. I think the NFL in and of itself is composed of a series of
guaranteed. Yeah, that's right.
Yes, fully guaranteed money. It was a ridiculous contract, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. So the NFL in and of itself is composed of owners, and those owners, we look at NFL players and say, "Oh, they're rich," but owners are billionaires, right? So billionaires are always going to trump millionaires whenever. The owners in the NFL have collectively decided, whether they want to be public about it or not, that they are going to operate an old boys club, and they are not going to allow certain things to happen under the NFL shield. And that is oftentimes supported by the NFL president, Roger Goodell. He's going to let the owners do. He really don't have a choice. He got to let the owners do what they do because they can get rid of him and get somebody else. But herein lies the issue. When Colin Kaepernick was doing this, what the NFL was trying to posture was that, okay, yeah, maybe he has the right to say what he wants to say about police, but he doesn't have the right to use our stuff to do that, right? So they were saying, you need to stop doing it while you're on NFL time. You do that on your time. Well, the problem is that he knows that that's the avenue where people see him. Hey, Michael. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Colin Kaepernick knows that's the avenue where people see him, and he's not bothering anybody. He's not disrupting anybody. So he continued to do it. The NFL wants to, of course, stomp out anybody who's going to be defiant against the owners and the shield. So they blackball him. And we're seeing this again with the Brian Flores lawsuit that's going on now. But he was doing this for a very legitimate reason. And this all happens a little before George Floyd, a little before Breonna Taylor, all these other issues that really became international outcries for Black Lives Matter, and examples of police just overstepping constantly when it comes to Black people. So I think he was doing something that was heroic. He was doing something that he absolutely was bringing awareness to, and it helped spur all these other campaigns. But the NFL was like, we can't have Black people under our shield going out here and attacking police because, surprise, surprise, police support the NFL. We're back to the police unions, right? They support the NFL. They provide some security for the NFL stadiums, and they didn't like it, right? So the NFL wanted to kind of toe that line. Now, the issue is that they can't admit publicly that they're not hiring Colin Kaepernick because of his position. They can't do that, right?
Yeah.
But what they can do is individually not hire him, and then the collective effect is that
if I'm not mistaken, they even settled a lawsuit he filed against them, right? They settled. So if they settled, there's some truth behind it.
Yep. So they settled the lawsuit, and they're trying to get Brian Flores to settle, but he has refused to do it. He wants it to go to court, and he has a really good case. But the problem here is that the NFL is trying to use Colin Kaepernick as an example of defiance without dealing with the issue. They didn't want to wade into police versus Black people, right? And that's a problem for us, right? Because it's like, well, we buy tickets too. So what are you trying to say? Do we not matter? Now, here is where I feel like things went off the rails. What should have happened in that situation is all the Black players in the NFL should have got together and said, you know what? We're not playing anymore.
I was going to say that, yeah.
Right.
Now,
they
want to take
money,
just
right?
5 minutes. It'll take 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
To take it.
Right.
5 minutes.
Right, because ain't nobody coming out to see Tyler and Connor playing. Right. I can't imagine. Like, if we got big name people to be like, if Aaron Donald was like, no, I'm not playing. Right.
Yeah.
Things are going to change. And they didn't do that. In fact, not only did they not do it, but they went the polar opposite. Like, you see people like Jerry Jones forcing people to come and stand up for the flag.
Exactly.
And then holding arms with Jerry Jones.
and I wish players like Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott. I wish they had defied that and see if Jerry Jones could have cut them. I know he couldn't have cut them, but then you had them rather speaking against Colin Kaepernick and those who protested. Yeah,
people so scared of becoming the next Colin Kaepernick. See, there's only one Colin Kaepernick, and they ostracized him to the point where everybody else is now fearful of becoming him. But of course, it's not just the fear of that. They also want money. Like people who are millionaires get adjusted to a new lifestyle that we don't experience. So that's what should have been done. But of course, people are afraid to lose. Exactly. So what they did was they commandeered Colin Kaepernick's movement to, one, put stencils that say end racism on the NFL field. That doesn't really do anything for anybody. They also got money for individual projects that the players could put together in their local area. But most of those projects are like, giving shoes to needy kids or, tutoring or community center to kids. It's not really dealing with the policing issue, right? So they give money and the NFL can wash their hands up and say, look, we gave money. We hired Jay-Z to put together the music. What more do you want from
Exactly. And then to follow up, you had alluded to Brian Flores. Now, Brian Flores is also a black coach. He's of Cuban descent, and he coached with the Miami Dolphins, and a very good coach. He had a team that was terrible at a point in the season. A lot of his 5 of his stars quit. Mitzi, like the 3 games into the season, that was last season in the Miami, but he still had a winning season. That year, he had a winning season last year, but then he gets fired from his job. You have another case in Detroit where what's former Tony Dungy's assistant's name? Caldwell. Yeah. Caldwell takes Detroit to 3 winning seasons and gets fired, and they bring another coach who doesn't look like him, and he has losing season and still keeps the job. There's so many double standards, and unfortunately, the team that I support also were part of Brian Flores's lawsuit. He went for an interview with them. That's the New York Giants. And I don't know what I told you is a New York Giants fan or Philadelphia Eagles fan, but he had an interview with them. And apparently for the second interview, they called him, but they had already made up their minds that they were going to hire somebody else. Now, if you're going to hire somebody else, why bring him for a second interview? And it was because of the Rooney Rule. And all that. And the Rooney Rule, okay, I'll let Jesse explain all that.
So the Rooney Rule is a rule that requires that you have to interview black applicants for head coaching or for coaching positions in the NFL because of a history of not having black coaches interview. But I'll tell you
what have I told you?
But I'll tell you what makes the Brian Flores case interesting, and this is going to make everybody laugh. So make sure you pay attention, okay? Brian Flores was supposed to get interviewed by the New York Giants immediately after he is cut from coaching the Miami Dolphins, who started the season with no wins, but ended on a 7-game winning streak, right? So he made the crappy Dolphins, no offense to Dolphins fans, made y'all great. Then almost went to the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So he was going to New York Giants. Well, what happens is the New England Patriots coach, Bill Belichick, sends him a text message that says, "Congratulations, Brian." And he says, "Congratulations, what are you talking about?" And he was like, "I heard you got the New York Giants job."
That's right.
So he's like, "Oh, that's interesting because I don't interview till next week," right? Turns out Bill Belichick congratulated the wrong Brian. And the person that they had hired was a white man named Brian before Brian Flores even interviewed, right? So now because of Bill Belichick's text message and the timing of it, Brian Flores has a really good case. But on top of that, Brian Flores took it a step further. He says, what's wild in the NFL is that if you are a black coach the owner can come and tell you to intentionally lose games. I will pay you to lose a game. Right?
The Miami Dolphins did that. Yeah.
Exactly, because they want to tank to try to get better draft picks. And he was like, no, that goes on your coaching record. Like, if you tell me to lose the game and I lose the game, now I look like an ineffective coach. I'm not going to do that. So there were games that he was supposed to lose that he didn't lose, which would show how great of a coach he is, right? So one, we're back to the Colin Kaepernick standard of you defied what the owner wanted. You're defiant. Number two, we're to this hidden standard of we know that it's racist, but now he's got a text message to show you that this was already negotiated and talked about before he even got interviewed. So he's got a good case, and then they're trying to get him to arbitrate and to take a settlement like Kaepernick did. I think Kaepernick would have had a harder time trying to get through to a trial than anything, but this guy, he's got the smoking gun. So it's like, okay, no, we're going to go to court. We're going to go to trial. So I just want you all to be prepared. It's going to take a few months, maybe a year, but he's getting ready to get a ridiculous settlement. And on top of that,
it's gonna get bloody. Yeah, it's gonna get bloody.
Yeah. And on top of that, he got another job. So Pittsburgh Steelers, who surprisingly were the team that created the Rooney Rule, and who do have a black
surprise.
They have hired him to be a positions coach working under Mike Tomlin. So it's going to be interesting, but prepare
to
for
add
all the
to that.
zeros.
Mike Tomlin. Okay. Oh, sorry to cut you off.
Oh, you're good.
Okay. To add to that, Mike Tomlin is the only coach in NFL history who's never had a losing season, and he happens to be an African American coach. And he's the only one who's given. He gave. It's almost like it's almost like, oh, I don't care what you do, NFL. I'm still gonna hire this brother. You know, which I'm really proud of Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin has done such a good job. He's not only a great coach, he's also a great human being. And reports anyone who's been around him, anyone who's interviewed him, when you watch his interviews, you can see he's a man who has such a great heart. Not only a good coach, but also a great man. And I commend him for that. And I also commend the Rooneys because they're the one who set up the Rooney Rule. They're the ones who hired Mike Tomlin. That rule actually helped Mike Tomlin become a coach. And he was not really qualified if you take, there's no such thing as qualified, but like he didn't have that much experience. I shouldn't say that. He didn't have like a ton of experience like some other guys, but the guy, Chris, what's his name? The guy who commandeered the Rooney Rule said to Rooney, hey, you guys check this guy out. I think he'll be a good coach for you guys. And they picked him up and they were on a jet, the private jet. And like, I like this guy. So through the interview process, he won them over and became their coach. And since then, they haven't regretted it because he's never had a losing season, even with the worst quarterbacks. And he still had a winning season.
And he got a Super Bowl ring. And I just want to emphasize everything you just said. I just want to emphasize that to the Pittsburgh Steelers fans because after the first 4 weeks, they always trying to fire him. They always trying to, and I'm like, bring him to Carolina. Come on down. No, but he works it out. And I know now because they got Mitch Trubisky as their starting quarterback, there are some concerns in Pittsburgh. But I trust Mike Tomlin. I think he'll do what needs to be done.
Oh, Toju says, remember before Mike Tomlin got a Steelers job, Miami passed on him because they thought he was too hip hop. Oh, really? I didn't know.
You know what's funny? How in the world does somebody with a team in Miami say somebody is too hip hop? Like,
I know, right? They have the nerve, right? Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna switch gears again. We've talked about if you're just joining us, we've talked about Supreme Court nominee Sister Ketanji Brown Jackson. They're gonna go through the hearings this week, and Dick Durbin, senior senator, is gonna preside over the hearing. And then we talked about Colin Kaepernick, who still hasn't gotten the job because he took a stance against police brutality. And then Also, we talked about Brian Flores, who got fired after being a good coach. So all this we highlighting because these people have done a commendable job, and like talking about Colin Kaepernick and Brian Flores have done a commendable job, but still don't have a job. I mean, Brian Flores has a job because another black coach hired him, and we commend them for that. Now, I want to talk about something that is dear to my partner's heart. Well, he happened to buy his ticket to Accra, Ghana recently. And he's also got a place to stay. He got an Airbnb in one of the nicest parts of Accra, and also getting his shots before he goes. And I'm gonna let him talk about that a little bit. So, how are you feeling about the trip?
Man, I'm so excited. So now I just got to get myself in order because I haven't been working out in a minute. So I need to get myself back in some presentable shape so that when I fly over there, I'll be ready. But just wanted to let you all know, I've had some very, very unique and I mean, it's probably sitcom worthy experiences in trying to plan this trip out. Particularly dealing with the shots and the shot recommendations and all the stuff that you get. It is painfully obvious that people, for some reason, have like a disdain. When I say people, medical professionals have a disdain for folks traveling to the continent. And I don't really understand why, outside of just writing it off as white supremacy. But the list of shots I had when I went to I tried to go to my primary care doctor. They don't have the required shot that I needed to get into Ghana. You need a yellow fever shot. You got to get a card. And it's not just Ghana. This is like most of the world. You need a yellow card. So they don't have it because in America, it's not a required shot. We don't have it. They said you had to go to a Passport Health. I didn't even know what that was. So I go to Passport Health. Of course, they've got it. But they also have a list of other shots that they are saying that I either need or are highly recommended. And I'm confused because I'm like, I'm here for a yellow fever shot. I don't know what this other stuff is. So they're trying to explain to me what this other stuff is. And I know in my heart of hearts, because I'm a cheapskate, I'm not buying it, right? Like I'm not going to buy those other shots. So, I could have just saved a lot of time and just been like, nah, I'm just here for yellow fever. But I just wanted to hear the rationale out to see like, what are they saying, right? And in the meantime, a friend of mine who is also traveling with us, you all know Will from the show. He's been on before. I had him on speed dial, basically texting him saying, hey man, this is what they said, and getting all kinds of funny faces back or whatever. But these people wanted me to get typhoid, meningitis, rabies, all this stuff. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, I don't know what most of that is, but I do know what rabies is. And I'm like, why would I get a rabies shot?
Yeah.
It's like, well, you never know. You might get bitten by animals. What animal would I get bitten by? I'm staying in the city. And she was like, well, I mean, in case you want to go hiking in, what she said, go hiking in the jungles. And I'm like, what? So I was like, ma'am, I don't hike in the jungles here, right? So I'm not doing that. She was like, oh, you sure? You sure? So there's a list. Let me see if I can find this list. It's ridiculous.
And while Jesse was going through that, he had sent me a message about it. And I got really fired up because when I first came to this country, they gave me a skin test, tetanus. No, what's a skin test? That's for what's that disease called? What's that virus called?
Skin test. It's like the chicken pox, maybe shingles.
No. The one with the chest, it has to do with the chest area. You cough, and usually the people who get infected cough out blood and stuff.
Oh, tuberculosis.
Yeah. Tuberculosis, TB. Yeah, thanks. Told you. And I had a skin test, and it turns out I got positive. I had a positive reaction. The swelling. They give you a little shot on your your forearm, and then if it swells past a certain point, it means your body has reacted to it. But when we're growing up in Ghana, they give you what do you call back to the vaccines again. They give you a vaccine. So of course, if they give you that shot, it's going to react because you have an antibody in your body.
Right.
So then they say I must have it. So they say I must have a chest X-ray. I go for chest X-ray and it's clean. And they still want to give me pills. And I said, no, I'm not going to take the pills. They insisted I took it. I took it and I went to dump it in the trash. I said, no, I'm not going to take it. Okay, tell me not to go to school. Try to stop me from going to school. But they did not. They were not successful in doing so. That's why I got really upset. And for them to, I think Jesse had said something about mosquito bites.
Oh yeah. The mosquitoes. Apparently, the mosquitoes in Ghana, particularly, are just ravenous, and they are disease, pestilence carrying creatures because the mosquitoes not only pass, what was it? I think it was polio, typhoid, influenza.
Is she really a medical person and doesn't know mosquitoes don't carry those things?
Well, she was like, these mosquitoes apparently are primed, and as soon as I get off the plane, they're gonna like use their radar system to come and inject me with everything that they have. So it's funny because I'm like,
instant death. She says. I mean,
yeah.
I've never heard of any mosquito causing instant death, and all goes to show you the disdain and the hatred towards Africa and Africans, and it's unfortunate. Now, I was saying mosquitoes sometimes they do have malaria infecting mosquitoes, but I had malaria several times growing up. I mean, when you tell people, they get like, oh, really? No. But I'm still here, right? And it's because it's largely been taken care of. People still get it. And I told the way to protect yourself against, you have the spray. There's a little what do you call it? What is it?
Mosquito repellent.
Repellent. You put it on your body, you're not going to get bitten. My wife and my son didn't get bitten once. They got bitten after they ran out of the repellent. And you can also take anti-malarial drugs, which will cause you not to have malaria. Yeah. Was it common people start placing adverts on the program?
Oh, trying to get us promoted. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I feel like, she told me about the anti-malaria pills, and you don't have to start those. I think they said you start like a week before you go and take them while you're there, and then go for another week when you get back. So I'm fine with that. And I'm like, I can get the repellent. I'd much rather spray some repellent or use repellent lotion than to get shots into my body if I don't know what that stuff is. So, but I say all that because I want people, I know we've got a lot of folks, particularly like folks in America who are looking to travel to the continent. And what Will and I have been talking about largely is all of the different like hurdles that, make it. We thought it was just going to be as simple as you get your hotel, you get your visa, you get your plane ticket, and you're good. Like that's what we thought. And apparently that's not enough. So just so people, I want you to do the research, but I also don't want people to be intimidated or scared because all of this stuff, I mean, everybody's trying to make money. When I knew it wasn't going to be something that my primary care provider gives, then dollar signs started going up in my head. I was like, oh, Lord, it's not going to be covered by insurance. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to be paying out of pocket. And it just so happens that because we've been planning this for so long and we always missed the opportunity, I set aside what I needed in order to cover what I need to get. But the truth of the matter is that the only thing that is required of you is this. You have to have a yellow card, the yellow card to show that you got your yellow fever shot, and you have to submit that in order to get your visa. So that's where we're at now. We're working on the visa process, which has been interesting because I didn't know this much about myself, and they want to know. They want to know a lot of information about me that I was like, I never thought about that. I have no idea. So we are, hopefully we'll have that process done by next week. But we are looking forward to the trip. It's going to be a blast. And I'm just excited because this is something I've wanted to do for years, for a long time. And I want to give a shout out too, just to the community at large, like the Pan-Africana community, everybody who has been supportive, everybody who's laughed with me with these crazy shot things that they recommended, like everybody who has been supportive and trying to help me figure out where nice places are, what to do, things to add to the itinerary. There is definitely a bigger community feel that I feel like we are able to maintain and foster that helps a lot. And so for anybody who is looking to travel, and I don't mean just like America to the continent, but like if you're somewhere on the continent looking to travel to America, whatever, reach out to us, like talk to us and let us know so we can build on this community feel, because it's really nice for people to be able to help you in navigating. Even the host of our Airbnb has like basically bent over backwards to be, hospitable for us and to help us with all the visa stuff that we're trying to deal with. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So it's great. I think this is just the beginning of
a community. That's the thing. That's a good thing about people of African descent. We support one another. You go beyond. It's not just about you coming and then making money off of you, but they went beyond, above and beyond to help you in that process. And that's what this is about, and that's why we created this show, because we're a community and we help one another. I know something that you don't know. You know something that I do not know. I could help you one way, you could help me the other way. And that's what it is. That's what it's all about. And we're a family.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to hear all the stories. And by the way, did you reach out to Sister Ivy yet?
I did. So I'm going to try to get up with her for lunch while I'm out there. Absolutely. And my plan right now is I want to make sure I pack my charger, because I want to take cell phone videos, the photo journal, the trip. Will and I are still kind of hammering out what our itinerary is going to be. But so far, we know we're going to go visit the castles on Cape Coast. We know that Elmina, right? We know that we want to go to Kumasi to see the Ashanti people. I think Will found out that he is of Ashanti heritage, I believe. So we'll go and see the Ashanti people. And then, we're planning out, for me, I'm trying to go to the restaurants. Like, that's why I got to do the work now so that my stomach is ready to deal with it, because I feel like I'm ready to have my jollof rice. I'm ready to have my red bread. I'm ready to have my Kelly Welly. I want to see what it's all about. And get a taste for what my taste buds should be adjusted to, as opposed to KFC, McDonald's, the crap.
Yeah, for sure. Glad that's all. It's almost done, and I know it's been 2 years now. You've been telling me about this, and COVID. God willing, it's a thing of the past. Even if it's around, it won't be as effective and scary like when it first started. At first, we didn't even want to step out because we thought even breathing the air
right
will get you infected. But yeah, so glad this will happen soon. And I can't wait for all of us to, probably have a whole Pan-Africana family trip.
Absolutely. I'm with it.
Well,
Tanzania, if you want to make that possible. Zanzibar. Let us know. Seychelles. Anybody. But yeah, this is the first of many. I feel like I'm going to go out and I've had Ghana on the list forever. So I've got to go to Ghana first. And then after I've done this, Michael, let me know, because I'm trying to see Nigeria. I'm trying to go to my spiritual homeland, my ancestral homeland. However we got to plan it. It takes me a couple years to get the money right to be able to do it. But however we got to plan it, I'm trying to go. And now that I've got this yellow fever shot, the great thing that came out of Passport Health, because I'll give her credit on this, she gave me the yellow card and was like, here you go, sir. You're now free to travel about the world. And it made me just feel like, wow, now we're in a position. You got your passport and yellow card. You love yellow fever card. You can go wherever. So now, hopefully, it's just a matter of the visa, the plane ticket, and the hotel. So we'll see how it goes, man. But I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. So before we go, we're gonna have a quick trivia. And I don't know whether you all are still with. Oh, I see people still on. Okay, they're still on. And Michael usually is the one who gets these questions, but we'll see. Okay, so who was okay? So I'm going to talk about Cape Verde. Who was the first president of Cape Verde Islands? Who was the first president of Cape Verde Islands? And then we're going to give you 10 seconds. 10 seconds to go. All right. Who was the first president of the Cape Verde Islands?
10,
all right.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Uh-oh, somebody.
Oh, shoot.
Told you.
Congratulations.
At the buzzer.
Told you. Yeah, it was at the buzzer. It couldn't have. Well, yeah, Pereira is the right pronunciation. I mean, right spelling, Pereira. Let me put it up. Pereira. Yeah. And it's Aristides Pereira. Now, Cape Verde went through an armed struggle under the leadership of one of my favorite all-time Black leaders, Amilcar Cabral, and he was instrumental in all that. He left. He had a very lucrative job in teaching agriculture in Portugal. He studied agroeconomy in Lisbon, Portugal, but he went home to help his people gain independence against the Portuguese. And Portuguese will not go away quietly. They actually put up an armed struggle against them and were successful. But then he didn't see the independence. Is Pereira, who was part of the organization, was the one who became president. And if I'm not mistaken, Pereira was actually related to Amilcar Cabral. All right, Will, you win a prize again, just like Michael. I think there are only multiple members. You've joined the elite group. Michael is the number one. Michael, I think, has won twice, and then Will is the second. I said Will. Toju is the second person to win the second time. All right, we'll get you Amazon gift card.
Yes, and I'm still working through my book. I'm putting it up. Portuguese in West Africa. 14, 15,
oh, 16. Yeah.
I'm still going through. I'm reading like several books. That's why it's taking so long. But I just got to a point where there's a story that I really want to see converted into like movie format. It's a story of, it seems like the process for the Portuguese as they expand is to enrich one particular person to turn on their people. And then what happens is all of these communities of different groups of people in Africa come together to be an army against the Portuguese, right? So they were talking about how this guy basically was empowered and bullying and selling out, and he had 4,500 people in his army. But he ran into an army that had 60,000 of Black people standing solid against what he was trying to do. And but for the fact that the Portuguese brings all these like weapons that people have never seen before. Like, other than that, it was a great showing. I feel like we got movies like 300 that are about situations like this, right?
Yes.
And I feel like we need to capitalize on that. We need to take that and educate our people to understand that it wasn't a matter of somebody coming in and people deciding, okay, we're going to sell our own people and all that. That's not what happened. What happened is there's always an oddball, right? There's always somebody who's going to be willing to sell out for a couple quarters or whatever. And that person would get falsely enriched by their white benefactor, right? But when they stood against the community, I'm just thinking the people who ran the message between all of these different cities and basically were saying, this guy's teaming up. He has 4,500 people. We need your help. It didn't even seem like there was a long extended period of negotiation. It was immediate diplomacy. Like, we might not see eye to eye, but what we're not going to do is let him come out there. So we're going to all band together. 60,000 people. And in my mind, I'm thinking like 60,000 people. My city is about 215,000 people. Just my city. So we're talking about a large chunk of my city. Basically, all the black people in my city. But just mean like we get ready to fight.
The power of community, and that's
absolutely,
that's the power of community. And when we come together, what we can accomplish. And the Portuguese are some of the. I mean, now it seems to be an okay country to live in. I've seen a few black people live there, and they seem to be a welcoming city. It's not as brutal, but there were some of the most brutal people when they went. They captured people. Slaughtered people. You know, the story I was talking about Amica Cabral and Cape Verde. Actually, when they were losing the war against the armed struggle, they actually went and bombed the villages left, because all the men had gone to fight. So the villages were left with women and children. They bombed those villages, the cowards that they were. So they were some of the most brutal of all of them. And and sometimes even people like us saying that, yes, we sold our brothers. That's not, the story doesn't just end like that. It wasn't just that simple. There's a lot went on around that. And it's good to dig deeper, not just because some Eurocentrists said you sold the people. You should believe, you should always question the history, whether that was true or not, and do your own research and find out the truth.
Yeah, and for those of you who follow me on Twitter, you know that for the past 2 weeks, I've been engaged in a very, very intense debate with a white supremacist, just because it's fun to me. And he's basically been trying to throw, like, what's shocking to me is, I don't know if they take classes or whatnot, but these white supremacists have the same playbook. They say the same things to everybody.
Hi, Habiba.
Hey, Habiba, how you doing? They say the same thing to everybody to try to stoke division. So they'll be like, if I talk about what white people have done, they'll say, well, if you want reparations from America, maybe you should ask for reparations from the Africans that sold you. And I'm like, why is it that everything comes back to you try to absolve all the stuff that you did by going into some history that you haven't even read and try to blame someone else, as if we don't have pictures and all the documents for what happened here. So I'm like, look, America got rich here on the backs of slave labor here. Anything else really is irrelevant. Whether somebody sold me or not is irrelevant. Like, you didn't have to buy. Nobody put a gun in your head. It was like, buy them. You did.
Yeah.
So now America owes what they should pay. They should provide reparations, but they don't want to hear that. And so it's funny how they could just wipe away like 400 years of oppression and be like, yeah, it was a simple transaction. Like,
I know. Yeah, well, they gave reparations to Japanese after the Second World War.
Yeah, they gave reparations to slave owners after the Civil War. Right, so you can replace us, but you can't pay us. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. And to any other group that came here, they give reparations. Italians to Jewish and every other group except people of African descent. So yeah, so thank you for joining us today. If you haven't done so already, please do so. Please follow us on Instagram at the PanAfricana Show. You can also follow like us on Facebook. Pan-Africa presents Afriscope, and also you can subscribe to our channel on YouTube. PanAfricana presents Afriscope, and subscribe, like, and then hit the bell button, so anytime we have a video, we are live, you get a notification and you can join us live and contribute to the show. And if you want to also be part of the show, reach out to us. There's a few people. There was a brother who sent his email. Did he share the email? The one who came through Indigo's friend. I forget his name. He usually joined us on YouTube. Oh, okay. He was supposed to get in touch with you. something like that. But yeah, please get in touch with us. And some of our old folks like Habiba, I think you're due for a second.
Yes. And
Second
Habiba, thanks for the birthday wishes yesterday. She gave me a birthday shout out in Yoruba. So
wow,
wow,
that's so
I
cool.
appreciate that.
Wow, that's so cool. God bless you, Habiba. Yeah, thank you. Told you I'll reach out to you. Thank you, Michael, for joining us. It's been a while.
Yes.
Thank you, Jarda, and everyone else who joined. And then the pimp. I'm trying to remember her real name.
Tamara. Yeah. Thank you.
Tamara, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next week. All right. Take care and bye-bye.